A second criteria for Navi can be found in Rashi's commentary to Shmot 7 Pasuk Aleph. The context here is HaKadosh Baruch Hu coming to Moshe, informing him that despite his misgivings, he has been given the ability to rule over the Pharaoh of Egypt, Netaticha Elohim leParo, and that Ve'aharon achicha yiyeh neviecha, your brother Aaron will be your Navi. God then goes on to clarify the relationship. Ata tedaber et kol asher atzaveka. You are to verbalize all that I shall command you, which according to Rashi, the tedaber is not to Aharon but to Paro. V'Aharon achicha yedaber el Paro. And Aharon will speak, which Rashi interprets as clarify, elaborate what you have just said, to Paro. This role that Aharon was given, that he was to be Moshe's Niviecha, Rashi points us in the direction of the Targum Unklas, Miturgemanach, your spokesperson. And then Rashi goes on to write, V'chein kol lashon neviyah. Every word that has a nun bet aleph shoresh, which in most situations we translate as prophecy, implies a situation where Adam hamachriz umashmiya la'am, one who announces and proclaims to the people divrei tochachot, words of rebuke. This therefore was to be the role of Aharon, that he was to be the one who in no uncertain terms would carry a message of rebuke and threat to Paro. Rashi then goes on to provide three examples where the Nun Bet Aleph Shoresh is used, one from Yeshayahu, the other from Mishlei, and the third from Shmuel Aleph. And finally, Rashi provides us with an old French equivalent of Navi, which in a footnote in the Art Scroll translation of Rashi would be the modern equivalent of preacher. Herein lies the problem with the descriptive of Miriam as being Hanaviyah, given the fact that Rashi has provided us earlier with two criteria for a Navi. One, an awareness of matters that are hidden, and two, one who announces or proclaims words of rebuke. What connection, if any, do either of these criteria have with the events under discussion in Shmot 15? There is nothing here that indicates an awareness of matters that were hidden. She is not standing up before the nation proclaiming words of rebuke, and therefore the descriptive Hanaviyah, on the surface at least, has no bearing to the narrative of this perek. In light of the fact that this is the very first time in which we are introduced to Miriam, Aaron has been identified earlier in the genealogical tables of Shevet Levi. Sons are listed, daughters are not, and therefore there's a need to provide information as to who this Miriam, who led the women in song and dance, was. For this reason, the Achot Aharon descriptive is justified. With respect to the first descriptive, that it was Miriam Hanaviyah, on the surface at least, aside from the Hey Hayediyah, implying that she was a well-known Neviah, the actual descriptive, Miriam Hanaviyah, does not meet the two criteria Rashi himself has established in defining the function of a Navi. This is the textual anomaly that Rashi seeks to address in his commentary to this pasuk.